Good evening. Welcome to America's Third Party. We are open topic night tonight, talking about social issues, and we are trying to address some of the more important social issues affecting our country, from pro-choice versus pro-life. We're going to come up with some decisions there that we believe in. We're also going to talk about capital punishment briefly, hit on our position at a federal level, and I think right now we're going to do a news wrap-up of what's happening today. Currently, we are talking to our supporter, Carl, of the Awesome Carl Show. Hello, Carl. Good evening. We are also going to address a news item that has just appeared. Top of the news, Hosni Mubarak is set to be released. The man who held Egypt in an autocratic grip for 3 decades is apparently soon going free. The man who replaced him in the nation's first democratic election is now the military's prisoner. My question to all of you is, do you think Hosni Mubarak should return to power, even though he's in a wheelchair? That's just an odd thought. I mean, think about it. He's still capable of leading the country. He still could restore peace. He has a tremendous amount of power and support within the government that currently is occupied by the military, and he could restore order that would be a lot less homicidal. And when General Sisi had killed over 700 people, rebellion continues to persist among the Muslim Brotherhood, and this is going to ultimately end up in a more of a bloodbath until we get some sensible leadership. And I must say, I believe that Hosni Mubarak could very well return to power. That's my take. What's your take? Let's go to the chat room and see what's happening. Yeah, well, that's the chat room, all right. Okay, back to what's going on in the news. Oh, GLAAD finds inadequate LGBT representation in Hollywood. In its first ever study of Hollywood, nonprofit organization GLAAD says only 14 films from last year contain transgender or lesbian, gay, bi people in it, calling its findings inadequate. So maybe they should do some more videos that would be better for people like Chaz Bono and others. I see no reason why we shouldn't include more transgenderism, but mandating the number of transgender videos, you've got to be kidding me. Get the government out of our private lives. Get the government out of private movie making. Hello? The Democrats have to realize they need to back off. And the Republicans have to realize we need to step up and do something. So together we will meet in the center of the political spectrum. Okay, Syrian activists accused government of deadly chemical attack near Damascus. Let me bring this up to show you. Wow. I'm going to reveal just a slight picture here of some dead people, folks. Their bodies are in the picture right there. Yeah, I don't really like to look at that, but my question on that note is this true? Has there been due process here? Do we know for a fact that it wasn't a mercenary group just killing people recklessly with poisonous gas in order to blame Bashar al-Assad? Is this part of a government, liberal government media campaign to taint the Syrian government constantly so that we could start a war there? I'm against war. I'm a non-interventionist. I don't want to have more war. And if we can avoid sending troops into the Middle East, I'm all for that. In fact, I've made an open statement, a promise to the American people that I will not increase the troop strength in the Middle East at all when I'm president. I will only work to reduce the number of people in the Middle East currently deployed. Now, that does not mean I'm going to forget the military. Unlike Obama, I don't want to get rid of 500,000 personnel in the military in 10 years. I want to keep the military right where it is. The volunteer Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines need to retain the numbers we currently have. 2 million people in the armed forces makes sense to me, considering some countries have 400 million people, like China. All right. That's it for the news, and we're going to pull that screen down. Thank you. So we are dealing with some tough issues tonight. The abortion issue was brought up, and I must tell you that I believe that abortion does seriously kill a baby. Let's face it. I mean, we're murdering the child. I also believe that a woman should have the right to choose whether she's going to kill her baby. Now, I know that sounds really harsh when I phrase it in that way, but I have looked at all things from all sides, and I am officially pro-choice. But I'm also listening to the pro-lifers who've been talking about the dangers of killing babies, of how bad it is to the little baby fetus. And I need to remind everybody here that we were all little baby fetuses at a time. Now I'm going to bring up a gynecologist talking to you Anthony Lavatino is going to talk to you briefly from a Senate subcommittee hearing that he testified at. He's going to tell you what he does to little baby fetuses. And mind you, you were a little baby fetus at one time, and then I'm going to tell you what I think we should do to resolve this problem up in 2016, 2017. Here we go with Anthony.
Chairman Franks and distinguished members of the subcommittee, my name is Anthony Lavatino. I'm a board-certified obstetrician-gynecologist. I received my medical degree from Albany Medical College in Albany, New York in 1976 and completed my OBGYN residency at Albany Medical Center in 1980. Over my 32-year career, I've been privileged to practice obstetrics and gynecology in both private and university settings. 2-finger breasts above her umbilicus. If you could see her baby, which would be easy on an ultrasound, that baby would be as long as your hand plus a half, from head to rump, not counting the legs. Your patient has been feeling her baby kick for the last month or more, and now she's asleep on an operating room table, and you're there to help her with her problem pregnancy.
This is interesting.
The first task is to remove the laminaria that had earlier been placed in the cervix, the opening to the uterus, to dilate it sufficiently to allow the procedure that you are about to perform. With that accomplished, direct your attention to the surgical instruments arranged on the right. The first instrument you'll need is a 14 French suction catheter. I brought one along so you don't have to imagine it. It's about 9 inches long, it's clear plastic, and there's an opening through the center of it. Picture yourself, if you can, taking this instrument and introducing it through the cervix and instructing your circulating nurse to turn on the suction machine. What you'll see is pale yellow fluid running through the tubing into the suction machine. That was the amniotic fluid that was there originally to protect the baby. You're next going to need a Sofer clamp. It's about 13 inches long, it's stainless steel, and the jaw on this is composed of rows of sharp teeth. You introduce this instrument blindly and start pulling off limbs. Feel yourself grabbing and pulling hard, and I do mean hard. And out pops an arm about that long, which you put down next to you. Followed that by a leg just as long. And then you tear out the intestine, the spine, heart and lungs. Difficult part of the procedure is the head, which is about the size of a plum. You know you got it right if again this is blind, but you know you got it right if your instrument's spread about as far as it can go. And you've got a hold of this, and you know you did it right if you crush down a white material that runs out of the cervix. That was the baby's brains.
Wow. Oh man, Carl. You know, that's the most horrible description of what really goes on, and he's doing us a service because a lot of you people who are pro-choice, like myself, are a little insensitive as to what really is going on here. I mean, these little babies could have fruitful lives, they could be geniuses even. And I must tell you, 45 million babies have been killed since the Roe v. Wade was passed by the Supreme Court. What I suggest is a first trimester law that limits women's abortions to just the first trimester, the first 12 weeks. Basically, a baby gets no more than this size, and their cerebrum has not even fully begun forming. There's no major pain centers yet. So first trimester abortion law, I think, is the most sensible compromise between the right and the left on this issue. And anyone who was raped, of course, would not have to abide by that law. But if you were caught having a late-term abortions, it would be illegal under this plan. And that would be a federally mandated approach toward this law. I'm only saying this because I really believe that there are a lot of little babies that need to be born, and I personally think women should not have an abortion, personally. But I also understand they have a right to choose. And it's to protect them too. The babies themselves are being killed, we know that, but the mother could easily be in a backroom abortion clinic and die as a result of going to somebody with a coat hanger. We don't want that. And that's why we've evolved. Let's not forget the fact that we've made some changes and adapted to provide modern facilities, but I do not support federal funding for Planned Parenthood at all. All right, so that issue being said, first trimester law could be put out there for Congress to look at. Definitely put that on the table. Also, the idea of capital punishment. We are strong on capital punishment. We believe that capital punishment is necessary in order to deter crime, serious capital crimes. People kill people, and they don't think that they can, be facing major punishment. They kill a lot of people. They, in fact, have a party in prison with all their fellow killers. It's that sick. So if we don't have or implement a federal capital punishment law that only takes place with DNA evidence is presented and incriminating a person, then we will ultimately not deter crime, and we'll see a lot of people pop in people's heads like watermelons. That's not something we need. So that's another issue I think is very important to our position here. We don't want people like Dr. Pettit, who lost his 2 daughters and wife in Connecticut to rape, torture, and death. Dr. Pettit has no vengeance, but he just wants justice. And he believes that what was done to his wife and 2 kids should be equivalent to murder and ultimately the death penalty for the people. But no, Governor Malloy of Connecticut has reversed the death penalty in Connecticut. Now that is their right. The 10th Amendment ensures that states can choose issues like these social issues to override the federal mandate. So I in no way want the federal government to impinge upon the states' rights, but at the federal level, if you're committed a federal capital crime, I support the death penalty when there's DNA evidence incriminating you. In the case of Scott Peterson, if there's no DNA evidence, for instance, and there's no reason to continue pushing for a death penalty, life imprisonment is enough. Okay, so how are you guys tonight? Can we behave? Okay, you can have your own head. Yeah, if you don't like the death penalty plan, I've never done anything bad to anybody. I've never hurt anybody. Why would you say that I should suffer because I support capital punishment? It's kind of ironic that people want to blame the messenger. I'm just the messenger, man. I'm here to tell you that you kill somebody and it's unlawful, it should be returned with a death penalty. Now, in the case of Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman, I believe that George Zimmerman should have faced about 2 years for manslaughter, at the very least. But the stacked jury of women did not agree. In fact, I think the prosecutor in this case was committing prosecutorial malfeasance. Prosecutorial malfeasance in so far as allowing an all-female jury with George Zimmerman, who's a male. Now, unless George Zimmerman had a sex change operation, I don't see how he's being tried by a jury of his peers. And I'd like to know why the Democrats and the Republicans don't get clear on these issues. A person should be tried by mixture. It should be part of the state law where he's being tried, but whatever. Similarly, a person who is, this is a social issue, a person who has committed a felony or a misdemeanor and who goes up for trial should be allowed to be tried by people who've committed felonies and misdemeanors, ergo the prisoners in the local jail who have nothing to do with their time and would like $5 a day. I don't know one citizen in America that would like $5 a day to serve jury duty. Now, why that law hasn't changed, that shows you the complete lack of competent intelligence behind the Democrats and Republicans. They don't change laws, they don't adapt to the present time, and they tax, spend, and suck up to big corporations. That's why the two-party system has got to go down.
David,
Yes. I'm listening.
I see a problem with having prisoners actually do, or convicted people doing jury duty, because I mean, think about it. More likely, if they have any type of connection and there's no 100% way of knowing with whoever the person did a crime with, they can make sure and intimidate the rest of the jurors / prisoners to be found guilty. Now, as for being paid for jury duty, I think that's just plain stupid anyways. It's supposed to be a duty to see justice. I mean, I would do it for free.
I know you would do it for free, but a lot of people who make $50, $60 an hour have to go in and work for $5 a day. I mean, how is that realistic? I mean, seriously, look at, you could have any number of solutions here that would solve the problem with stacking juries with 12 people. We could have the jury pool of prisoners talk to the attorneys, much like they do now, and the prosecutor can review the guys and girls who have had felonies and misdemeanor convictions. I'm just saying, hey, it's a jury of their peers. I'm just saying, technically, they've all committed misdemeanors and felonies. Why wouldn't they make a good jury? And they need the money.
Why not people who have who are, say, on Social Security for, like, let's say a physical disability, say they can't work because they're paralyzed? Well, that doesn't mean they can't come in, provided, of course, that they provide transportation if the person can't obviously get to the court to do jury duty. That could work out too. And in a sense, they would be helping out taxpayers.
Yeah, that would be nice. People local to the court that could walk because the cost of gas will be $12 a gallon. Yeah, that will have to make a modification there. Especially considering the jail is right next to the Justice Department, or the jury pool could pull. Look, I just see this as a possibility that some people who are currently in prison don't just want to commit vengeance on somebody who's guilty. They'll look at that person and say, hey, well, I want to get him off because I don't want him to serve hard time like I'm serving. You know, they'll have sympathy for these people. Okay. Let's talk about other things. This has been a good little recorded broadcast, though, and I appreciate your input on this, Carl. I'm going to be back every single night to talk to you and everyone watching, 6 to 9 p.m. Pacific. So our show continues right now, and we're going to be doing the after show at the top of the hour. And that goes for another hour where I break into a whole different series of characters and impersonations. I do impersonations. I exercise my freedom of speech. I am politically direct, and I'm willing to do anything at all in the legal realm to get noticed, to get on television, to reach out to the American people with our great ideas for change. Now, these social change ideas are just the beginning. We have a lot of other ideas on our website, americasthirdparty.com, and I urge you to check them out. And we have a way in which we can bridge the gap between all the races, because frankly, this isn't a race issue. This is an economic issue we're facing. We're facing a country that is misguided by people that spend way too much money, and ultimately denying our freedoms and rights because they're sucking up to world powers like the UN. We've got a lot of problems on our plate in America, and if we don't get started as American people communicating and building this third party in the next 2.5 years, we won't be able to challenge the police state that's forming in America right now under your nose. So bear in mind, we absolutely need to do this. Thank you for watching, and come in anytime to our show.